The Choke. EVO, or Evolution Championship Series, is a yearly tournament held in the United States in Las Vegas. This is one of the most prestigious tournaments for fighting game players. At EVO 2010, Daigo, being the reigning champion from last year's EVO, was the favorite to take the entire tournament with his signature Ryu. However, one of his obstacles towards Grand Finals was Lamer Boy, a US Guile player. Both players were fighting tooth and nail, slowly trying to eke an advantage over the other, utilizing their characters' great fireballs and pokes. Last game, last round, Lamer Boy had the match in the bag, about to send Daigo to losers in a surprising upset after landing a key Ultra 2 with less than 15 seconds on the clock. Having the health lead, all Lamer Boy had to do was stay solid and keep Daigo away. But with less than 5 seconds on the clock, with Daigo in his face, Lamer Boy cracked under the pressure. Daigo, despite whiffing his jump heavy kick, was able to clinch the round in a nail-biter with Ryu's Shoryuken. This would not be the last time these two players would fight each other. At NorCal Regionals 2019, Lamer Boy and Daigo had to play each other in pools 9 years later after their close match at EVO 2010. Tied in rounds, Lamer Boy needed one more key opportunity to kill Daigo to take the first game. He found the perfect opening after jumping over Daigo's Sonic Boom. All Lamer Boy had to do was press Heavy Punch and he could have taken the first game. Unfortunately, history repeats itself and Lamer Boy used the wrong button, electing to use Jump Medium Punch instead of Jump Heavy Punch, causing his move to whiff on Daigo. Daigo would then take the round, forcing Lamer Boy to relive EVO 2010 all over again. The One Life Comeback. During COVID, all in-person events were stopped. This meant that many fighting game tournaments could no longer be held at a venue and must be moved to online. Due to the online infrastructure of Street Fighter V being flawed, Capcom could only host region-specific tournaments for Capcom Pro Tour. In 2021, Grand Finals of the 3rd Japan Regional Online Tournament, Kawano was about to take a round off of Daigo. Daigo had won the previous game, and Kawano needed to take this round to stop Daigo's momentum. After stunning Daigo in the corner, Kawano had the round in the bag, but the combo did not kill Daigo, and left him with literally 1 health left. Kawano needed to land just a single hit or throw to take the round. However, through Daigo's nerves of steel and multiple good reads, he was able to slowly make the comeback and take Game 2 from Kawano. Daigo was then able to continue this momentum and ended up taking the tournament 3-0 against Kawano, cementing one of the greatest comebacks in Street Fighter V history. Pausing mid-set. At DreamHack Dallas 2024, a match between JDCR, a Korean Tekken legend, and AK, a legendary Tekken player from the Philippines, took place. The winner of this would need to play one more match, which would qualify them for Top 8 and for Esports World Cup. During the last game, last round, JDCR had a commanding lead on AK, and while he was doing his combo, the PlayStation controller screen popped up. To explain, most fighting game tournaments these days use PS5s or some sort of gaming console for their competitors to play on. DreamHack Dallas was using PS5s for their competitors to play on, and some players like to use their controllers and play wirelessly. Typically, when a player is finished with their match, they are supposed to unpair their PS5 controller from the console they're playing on. However, players sometimes forget to do so, meaning that their controller is still paired with the PS5 console. Someone forgot to unpair their controller from the PS5 console JDCR and AK were playing on and pressed the PlayStation button on their controller. Because of this, the TO decided that both players needed to replay the last match. JDCR was in a commanding position the first time, but when he had to run back the round again, he lost to AK, and was thus sent to losers, where he would eventually just miss outside the top 8, being eliminated by Arslan Ash. Cheating. Despite the terrible launch of Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, Capcom did attempt to make a competitive tournament circuit for Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite called Battle for the Stones. One of the circuit tournaments was Canada Cup 2017. Killer Kai, a veteran MVC player, had just got out of his pools on winner's side, becoming that much closer to winning the tournament and qualifying for Battle of the Stones. However, during the tournament, it was discovered that one of the participants had cheated. Quackbot, the cheater in question, was caught when he played on stream twice under different usernames. What he did was have his friend enter into the same tournament as he did. Quackbot would then play under his username in tournament, but once he got eliminated in pools, he would then play under his friend's username. This allowed him to basically have a second chance in the tournament, and once he was caught, the tournament organizers decided that the only way to rectify the situation was to run the brackets back again that Quackbot played in. Unfortunately, one of those pools affected were Killer Kai's, meaning that Killer Kai had to play the entire tournament bracket again if he wanted to qualify out of pool's winner's side. This time, however, Killer Kai lost one of his matches in pools against Joe P, and thus later on was eliminated at 13th place. Quackbot and their friend were issued lifetime bans from Canada Cup, and Killer Kai dejected after losing his tournament run due to the participants' cheating scandal, losing 13 games in a first to 10. At Summer Jam 9, Perfect Legend and Sonic Fox did a first to 10. This all started when both players had beef with each other on Twitter, primarily Perfect Legend calling out Sonic Fox for using only broken characters to secure his wins. Perfect Legend was a strong MK9 player winning back-to-back EVOs during the game's peak. However, Sonic Fox at this point was one of the best, if not the best player of MK and NRS games overall. Sonic Fox proved why he is the undisputed best MK player by not dropping a single game against Perfect Legend, taking the set 10-0 using his katana against Perfect Legend's Kun Lao. However, due to either his high levels of salt or displaying his lack of reads not only in-game but in real life, he got on the mic and stated that he would beat Sonic Fox's Aaron Black. Both parties agreed to play a best of 5 with Sonic Fox using Aaron Black, and much to anyone's surprise, did not drop a single game against Perfect Legend. The FGC would later dub this historic moment as the 13-0, using band costumes and stages. At CPT Europe West, this was a match between Reinhardt and Takamura, and the winner would qualify for top 8 winner's side. However, this match would cause quite the issue for tournament organizers. Reinhardt won multiple times against Takamura, but each match was invalid due to the use of banned costumes and stages. The CPT rules forbid the use of certain costumes and stages during online tournament play. For the most part, these rules were understandable, as for example, Urian had a costume that made him look like Gil, who is a selectable character in this game, and thus this costume would confuse the opponent. This would be the same for some stages as the beach stage, where the water would obscure certain V-skills from characters like Nakali or Birdie. However, some seemingly innocuous costumes and stages were banned, like the Wesker costume for Urian and the training stage. Unfortunately, Reinhardt used the Wesker costume for one Urian match, which was banned, and thus his win did not count the first time. This happened again when training stage was selected, and the TOs could not accept Reinhardt's win again as the stage was banned. Despite winning multiple times against Takamura, those wins did not count due to the CPT rules, and Takamura would eventually take the set despite Reinhardt winning 3 matches to Takamura's 2. The 1 in a million chance. At EVO 2023, Kakadu and Tokido were playing an absolutely close match. Tokido was able to clinch out the second round, leaving both players on last round to win the entire match. At a key moment, Kakadu successfully landed his level 2 on Tokido and went for the overhead reset to take the round. Kakadu landed the overhead, but the portal spike that was supposed to hit Ken completely whiffed. Kakadu, in the heat of the moment, decided to go for a block stream, but Tokido, with his quick thinking, used level 1 to take the match. Many people were confused, as the portal spike usually would follow wherever the opponent is and hit them, but in this instance, the spike completely went into a different direction entirely. A Japanese Twitter user recreated the situation, and the conclusion was that when JP lands the overhead, it shifts Ken's hurt box low and backwards enough for the portal to whiff. This happens so rarely that even trying to reproduce this exact scenario where the portal whiffs was hard to do. EVO Moment 37. At EVO 2004, in a fateful match between Daigo Umehara and Justin Wong, Daigo had barely any health left on Ken. Justin, seeing that he could kill Daigo through chip damage, used Chun-Li's Super 2 to close out the round. In this situation, Daigo could not block the super as it would kill him, so the only way he could win was to parry every single hit of Chun-Li's Super 2. Parry is a mechanic in Street Fighter III Third Strike, where if you tap forward at the right time on your opponent's attacks, you take no damage and you can immediately act again, allowing you to punish your opponent. However, parrying attacks have strict timings, and Daigo needed to parry all 17 hits of Chun-Li's Super 2. If he misses a single parry, he would lose the round. But Daigo, proving his nickname, The Beast, parried every single hit and won the match, cementing this as one of the most historic moments in competitive fighting game history. Unfortunately, for Justin Wong, due to being on the receiving end of this historic moment, must constantly relive this trauma again and again and again. But he takes it in stride. Those are some of the worst ways to lose in a fighting game. I hope you enjoyed this video. I did leave out another big one, which was popping off too early, which happened between Punk and Shanghai at EWC 2025. However, I felt as though that many people have already covered it, and I also covered it in my own video about the history of what are you standing up for, so I wanted to leave that out. However, I will just make a slight honorable mention here at the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed the video again, and please comment below if there's any moments or any types of ways to lose in fighting games that I missed. Thank you very much again, and I hope to see you in the next video.